Good evening. I would like to call the October 24th, 2016 Bellbrook City Council meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Edwards?
Here.
Mr. Greenwood?
Here.
Mr. McGill?
Here.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Here.
Mrs. Seeger Lawson is absent tonight. Deputy Mayor Schweller?
Here.
Mayor Baird?
Here. May I have a motion to excuse Mrs. Donna Seeger Lawson?
So
make-
moved.
I'm not sure. I saw one.
Middlestetter.
I need a second.
I'll say.
You guys are going to be tough tonight.
Motion by Mrs. Middlestetter
And
to...
Mr. Greenwood.
Mr. who?
Mrs. Middlestetter, Mr. Greenwood.
Okay.
Well,
You guys starting off right tonight.
it's going to be a tough meeting.
And roll call. Or-
Motion by Mrs. Middlestetter to excuse Mrs. Seeger Lawson, seconded by Mr. Greenwood. Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Formal approval of the City Council work session and regular meeting minutes of October 10th, 2016. Does any member on council have any corrections or additions to the regular City Council meeting minutes?
None, Mayor.
None, Mayor.
Seeing none, there is approved as written. Mayor's announcements. We only have one thing on the agenda this evening. Mrs. Ducro, swearing in to serve on the Village Review Board, term expiring 12/31/17. Very nice to see you again. If you please come up. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Dana Ducro,
I, Dana Ducro,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and will obey the laws
and will obey the laws
thereof, and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions of the Charter
the provisions of the Charter
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of Bellbrook,
of Bellbrook,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which
upon which
I'm about to
I
enter.
am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I need a signature.
Sure.
And I would like to thank Mrs. Ducro for volunteering. It's hard to get all these boards filled. We have a number of boards, and they all play an very important role for Bellbrook.
Thank you. Now I'm off to do my own Girl Scout stuff. Written that sales for all the hot fun today. Thank you.
And that is all I have this evening for mayor's announcements. We do have a public hearing of ordinances, ordinance number 2016-11. Mr. Greenwood. Caught him off guard.
Got me off guard. Ordinance number 2016-11. An ordinance approving an addendum to the solid waste and recyclable material collection and disposal contract with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated. Whereas the city of Bellbrook participated in the 2012 Southwest Ohio Regional Refuse Consortium invitation to bid for the collection, transportation, and delivery for disposal or processing of residential solid waste and recycling materials, and whereas the city entered into a contract with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated for a 3-year period, January 1, 2013 to December 31, 2015, based on the results of this bid, and whereas the city executed an addendum to the initial 3-year contract for the period of January 1, 2016 to December 31, 2016, and whereas the city desires to extend the contract with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated for a period of 1 year, January 1, 2017 to December 31, 2017, using the pricing established in the 2012 bid. Now therefore the city of Bellbrook here ordains, Section 1, that the contract addendum with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city manager is hereby authorized to execute the addendum which is attached hereunto with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated, effective January 1, 2017, and to take such other action as required. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period provided by law.
Yes, this ordinance will extend our contract with Rumpke. It was first signed it started January 1st of 2013. The first 3 years were at a fixed rate, had a slight increase in 2016, and again an increase in 2017. This was all part of the original bid that we received in 2012. This will increase the price we pay per customer per month from $12.86 to $13.11. So it's an increase of 25 cents. We will not need to pass this on to the residents. The rate that we are charging currently is sufficient to sustain it for one more year. Sometime during 2017, we'll go out to bid for another multi-year contract and lock in some additional long-term prices, but this will get us through one more year. I know we're very satisfied with the service that Rumpke has provided to us. The number of complaints we have is very minimal, and when we do get complaints, they're very responsive to the needs, and they'll go out and pick up things if they're missed, or they'll do what they need to do to take care of it. So we're very happy to like to continue this contract for the final year under this last bid that we had.
Discussion? Any questions?
I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, very good.
And I would agree, if you check other communities, this is a very, very good deal. So this is a public hearing, so if anyone in the audience would like to come up, you will have 5 minutes. You will need to say your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to comment. I see no one jumping up. Seeing that no one is coming up to the podium, I'll call this public hearing closed. May I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2016-11?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2016-11.
May I have a second?
Second.
The
Mr.
vote-
McGill.
Darryl.
Mr.
Darryl.
McGill. Roll call.
Motion by Mr. Greenwood to adopt ordinance number 2016-11, an ordinance approving an addendum to the solid waste and recyclable material collection and disposal contract with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated, seconded by Mr. McGill. Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. We have one introduction of ordinances. Ordinance number 2016-12. Mr. McGill.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the City of Bellbrook ordinance number 2016-12, an ordinance adopting the revised City of Bellbrook Personnel Manual. Whereas the City of Bellbrook periodically reviews its personnel policies and procedures, and whereas the city has made revisions to the personnel manual that incorporates these policies and procedures, and whereas the city desires to adopt the revised personnel manual. Now, therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby ordains, Section 1, that the revised personnel manual attached hereto and incorporated herein by the reference setting forth personnel policies and procedures for employees of the City of Bellbrook is hereby adopted. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect January 1, 2017.
Yes, on an annual basis, we review the personnel manual for the City of Bellbrook. This year, the revisions are attached in a red line document there. Not really many changes. We had a couple changes to the vacation section and to the reimbursement of expenses section, but nothing really of too much significance this year. We'll have a public hearing at the next meeting. That way we can have this effective on January 1st and with the amended changes there.
Any questions on council?
No, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Mark, it looks like one of the changes, we're getting rid of that finance director as a separate title and using the term city manager on a lot of things, and I would think that's the way to go on most of that stuff if we can.
Yes, since
it's one person.
It's one position, it just, by eliminating the dual, not the function, but in the references to it, it makes it a little less confusing.
You always have to read city manager / finance director,
Right.
knowing it's all the same person, so it's
Right.
not two approvals, but yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yes.
Any other comments from council? Seeing none, may I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 2016-12?
Mayor, I motion to introduce ordinance 2016-12.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mike? Roll call.
Motion by Mr. McGill to introduce ordinance number 2016-12, an ordinance adopting the revised City of Bellbrook Personnel Manual, seconded by Mr. Schweller. Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Schweller?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. We have no resolutions this evening. We do have a city manager's report.
Yes, just a couple items. First, Halloween will be observed next Monday night from 6 to 8 p.m. So anyone wants to take their children out, I know that Sugar Creek Township is doing it at the same time. So next Monday night from 6 to 8 p.m. We've talked a couple times at council here about our Plantation Trail project. They've been working on that. They had that bridge taken out. Today was the day that they had the crane in there. They were putting the box culverts in. There were actually 6 sections of box culvert that they're putting in. Unfortunately, one of the sections was on a semi-truck that overturned on the way to the job site today. Damaged beyond repair. So we have 5 sections in the ground. The 6th section is going back to the manufacturer, and they're going to have to recast a concrete section for us. We don't, at this point, I have not heard what the time frame for that will be, but this has the potential to make that project not complete by the time the asphalt plant's closed this year. So again, I don't have all the information. I just know that at this point there's a delay. They can continue to do a little bit of the work, but until that last box culvert comes in, there's not much they can do. So we're waiting to hear the details on that. I was hoping, I actually had notes saying that everything was on schedule, and then that happened this morning. So I'll keep you up to date on that, but we'll obviously do what we can to get that road back open this year. It just may not be finished completely by the time the asphalt plant's closed, so it might have to be some type of something not the finished product. So I will keep you up to date and let you know when I learn more on that. And then finally, I think council got a notice, but the financial statements have finally been released by the Auditor State for the 2015 fiscal year. It's October 24th. We started this process a long time ago. They work at their own pace, but they have been released. The audit is on the Auditor State's website. We'll post it, the final audit, on our website, submit it to the different agencies that require it. But the 2015 fiscal year audit is finally complete. And at the next meeting, I'll give you a brief presentation of what the financial statements say. I just didn't have a chance to put it together here. I didn't expect that it'd be released today. So that is all I have.
Any questions for our city manager?
Mark, just a comment on the financial statements, and for the citizens and the people that are out in the audience tonight. I mean, it's something that we pushed very hard to try to get it done more contemporaneously with the end of the year 2015. We pushed the state auditors substantially to get it done, and last year they were done sometime in late September, and this year they committed to be completed ahead of that timeline, and now we're back on October the 24th. So believe me, this is something we take very seriously. We'd like to get it done currently. We don't like the fact that there's so much lag time, but it's to a large extent outside of our control.
Any other questions for our city manager? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports. Service? Nope, Donna, not here. Safety?
No report, man.
Finance and audit?
Just the financial statements, and Mark covered it, so we're good.
Community affairs?
Yeah, we are in the process of interviewing applicants for the BCA Property Review Commission and should have a recommendation by the next meeting.
All right, thank you. Old business, I don't think we have any. New business, do we have any? Open discussion?
Nothing, Mayor.
Nothing, man.
I have nothing.
Open discussion. I think the only thing I will say, this will be our last meeting before November 8th. And I think the one thing we can all agree upon is we'll be very glad when November 8th is over. But it's also important to go out and vote. So I will say that, because we will not have another meeting before then. That is all I have for open discussion. This is where we will open it up to the audience. Anyone who would like to get up, you will have 5 minutes, and please say your name and address. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I have created, I'm Kim Wolf, I forgot that, or Kim Tomlinson, I'm recently married, sorry. 2007 South Linda Drive, and I'm here again regarding the chickens, as always. I have created a written petition. I'm in the process of gathering signatures. I've only got a few so far. I've handed out pages for others to help collect signatures to get this reviewed, just to put it to the people's vote if the council is not willing to provide an ordinance to allow chickens within the city. And since the last meeting, I have put together a proposed, like an actual proposal of how the ordinance would be written, the requirements of the rules. I also have an application that I'm working on that will go with these rules, and in signing the application, you are agreeing to the terms of the ordinance. I don't know all of the legal terms yet, but I'd like to give a copy to you all, and then I have a copy for myself as well. But I'd like to read them.
We'll probably need a copy of it.
Our printer was out of ink. This was only 2 copies I could get tonight.
Oh,
So I
that's-
tried to
we
get a
can
copy
copy
for
it.
everyone, but it didn't work. So this is a proposed City of Bellbrook permit requirements for keeping chickens on less than 5 acres. Permit required, no person shall on any lot less than 5 acres anywhere in the city keep, harbor, or maintain care, custody, or control over any chicken without obtaining a permit issued by Bellbrook City Hall. Permit fee, a one-time fee of $20 will be charged for each permit, and the fee may be amended by a resolution. Number allowed. For parcels that are less than 1/2 acre, the maximum number of chickens is 6. For every additional 1/2 acres of land, an additional 6 chickens could be kept. On parcels greater than 5 acres, up to 45 would be allowed. Confinement standards. Every person who owns, controls, keeps, maintains, or harbors hen chickens by permit must keep them confined on the premises at all times. If confinement is in a chicken coop or a chicken run, the following standards apply. Where 6 or more chickens are being kept, the coop and run shall be at least 20 feet from any residential structure, wells, and any other premises or wells on any adjacent lots. All chicken coops and runs must be located within the rear yard, subject to the required setbacks for the principal building. Chicken feed must be kept in metal, predator-proof containers. A minimum 4-foot-high fence is required to free-range chickens outside of a pen or run. Conditions and inspection. No person who owns, controls, keeps, maintains, or harbors hen chickens shall permit the premises where the hen chickens are kept to be or remain in an unhealthy, unsanitary, or noxious condition, or to permit the premises to be in such condition that noxious odors are carried to adjacent public or private property. Prohibited uses. The following uses are not allowed as they would pertain to section, whatever code that would be. Roosters are not permitted. Breeding or raising of chickens for commercial purposes. Odors, solid matter, or noise of such quality or quantity is to be reasonably objectionable at any point beyond the lot line of the site on which the use is located. Slaughter of chickens must be performed indoors or otherwise out of public or neighboring view. And public nuisance. Failure to comply with this ordinance constitutes a public nuisance and is subject to the revocation of the permit, issuance of fines, and assessment of costs related to ensure compliance with this section. I created this based on researching numerous codes and permits from different cities all around the country, and I felt that this was pretty concise and covers most of the concerns that you may have. Something that I didn't have on here that I realized is left out, it would be that any pens or enclosures would need to be predator resistant, and that the coops should have solid flooring so they can be properly cleaned and maintained. So that's what the legislation would be.
Any questions? I know we've talked about this. We have Cub Scouts here, so they're probably interested in this process. Mrs. Tomlinson, did I get that right, Tomlinson?
Yes.
She would like the city to change their ordinances to allow chickens in the city of Bellbrook. Right now, chickens are not allowed in the city of Bellbrook. And we looked at this, the last time was what year? 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Did we actually present something?
No.
We didn't present anything, but we had the discussions on if we wanted to move forward, and city council voted they did not want to move forward. Mrs. Tomlinson brought it up again in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we had a discussion 2 weeks ago in city council at that time, except for Mr. Schweller. Councilman Schweller wasn't here. We voted at that time 4-2. Right,
Yeah.
4-2. And then Mr. Schweller wasn't here, so I don't know if you have how you would have voted on that, but
I would have clearly been in opposition. I wasn't here last week, I was out of town, we had our last meeting, but since that meeting, I've been contacted unsolicited by about half dozen citizens who are very vocal and don't want the chickens. I've got one family that's approving of the chickens, and I've heard some other feedback from other folks that they don't want the chickens in the city, so I'd have to stand behind the people that have told me and probably oppose the chickens.
And I think Mrs. Thomason, what she wanted was for us to look at an ordinance, and to change an ordinance at the city, we have to, one, first introduce it like we did tonight for that second ordinance, and then you have a public hearing on that ordinance when the council decides to move it forward, and then at that time, it's a public hearing and people can come out and then say if they're in favor of that ordinance or not. So that's where we're at. Any questions up here from Mrs. Tomlinson first?
I wouldn't say any questions, but over the weekend, I had a chance to speak with Mrs. Tomlinson about, and view the property where the chickens are kept currently. I'd say to you that from my research that I've done since the last meeting that we had, one of the things that I've noted is that there are a number of studies that are out that talk about whether there's a coexistence between chickens in a residential area and non-chickens in a residential area. And many of these items that she's listed here on this alleged permitting requirement sheet typically go to the topics discussed in the studies. But the one thing that stands out, for at least for me, after going through my research, is the fact that you still don't overcome the issue of how the area is zoned. That the area is zoned residential, it's not zoned agricultural. And I would say that to do what you're attempting to do right now would be a big hurdle to overcome, Mrs. Tomlinson. So I've got to tell you that while on one hand I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, I can't vote for putting an ordinance like this into play.
I did receive one email too from a gentleman, and I wish I would have brought it, I would have read it. And I could probably find it, but it would take me a minute to pull an email up. But the clear response to him that he was obviously clearly in favor of having chickens. I'm probably of the 10 people I've talked to, eight of them are vehemently opposed and 2 of them like chickens. Obviously, you have no idea what the general public thinks of that.
Right.
I still go back to my overall concern that there are plat covenants that we have. Now, we know your house is a gray area, but majority of those plat covenants do not permit chickens.
Right.
So that's my personal concern, and as a city, I don't want to be in the middle of the neighbors' disputes. So,
I did have a question for the council. I know you approved the keeping of bees, and I'm not sure how that worked with the plat covenants, with them being considered a farmed animal. How did that affect the plat covenants then?
I don't have that answer. I don't know that, I know the plat covenants we're talking about specifically list chickens. I don't think there's any plat covenants that say bees.
Right.
But I can't say that.
The ones that I've read have not said anything about bees. They were talking about livestock or poultry were the things that were mentioned. And I don't think bees fall into any of those categories. But honestly, when those were discussed, I don't think the conversation of plat covenants came up at that time.
It wasn't, and it didn't.
But I'm sure there are some of the newer developments with homeowners associations and that have regulations that specifically, don't allow bees and could enforce that through the homeowners association.
Right.
The ones I've read through my work process, I've not seen anything, but they're always older ones too, so they're not new ones. So, I mean, it probably could be an issue. I'm just not aware of, and I can't remember all the details. It was very specific on distances, because I knew Mike knew more about it than I did.
Yeah.
You probably read it, so I don't know all it's been a while ago. since we
It
did
had
that.
some of the same type of things where you regulated where it could be, how many, and those type
Do
of
we
things.
have any? We got one, I know.
We did at one point. I don't know.
We
that
had 2 or 3 of them. I know my neighbor had some, and I think his hives have since moved on, so I don't think he has them anymore,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure. But Bob, to your point, I was talking to a citizen that was concerned about plat covenants, and the comment was, city council's gonna act, and all of a sudden I'm gonna have to go and sue my neighbor, have a fight over it because they're gonna try to do it, they're probably gonna do it to annoy me, and they're not ones to be calling the police all the time and that type of thing, and plus, I'm not so sure we wanna have our police out there chasing these things down all the time. It just gets into kind of a tug of war for how we're gonna best utilize our resources.
Right, but if it's no longer the city's law, then the city's no longer charged with enforcing it, other than revoking a permit.
Or violations.
Yeah,
Or-
the violation part down here at the
Right.
bottom, the fine part, we'd be responsible for enforcing that. And that would be under the, I always screwed up, codified,
The general offenses.
general offenses, which
Yeah.
would be criminal offense.
Yes.
Is where it's at now. So it would be,
And that's where bees is actually.
and
also,
bees are there
in
too.
that same section.
Right.
And it's not a zoning issue. as
Dogs
much
are
as-
not.
No,
Dogs are,
that's a zoning
so,
issue.
the difference is the process. If you're in this section of our code, then you have to come straight to council, you have to go to planning board. If you're in the other part of the code.
So, but basically with the ordinance, when I was reading the Beaver Creek minutes and looking through what they had gone through, they just basically struck out the zoning, the part in their zoning laws that had said
Pertain to that.
pertaining to the chickens being on X amount of property, and it doesn't seem like a really big deal to just eliminate all that. But then I've never tried, so.
Yeah, and I'm not an attorney on that
or
one,
not
so I
even law,
can't,
but rather
I can't.
an agricultural designation being required.
You can ask the Cub Scouts what they think about chickens.
What do you guys think about it? If you're
Should
for
she,
chickens?
should
can
she
you raise
allow,
a
should
chicken?
she, well, if you got, now, second part is if you're gonna say something, Mrs. Tomlinson will have to let you come up here and you have to speak. Because we can't hear you because you only have a microphone up here. Nope, yep, you gotta come up here. And you gotta say your name and your address. Okay, well, just say your name, you'll be fine.
I am Darren, and I think that having chickens is good because you can have free eggs, and well, having free eggs is nice.
Well, thank you for your input. And I sort of thought that was gonna go that way. Yeah, so I think we've been through this. I don't know that anyone's changed their mind, and I'm sure, oh, I do, if you have an email or something that you want to give the people to contact you?
Actually, there is a page, it's called Legalized Chickens in Bellbrook. It's on Facebook, if you're on Facebook. You can message me through there. My email is dkimtomlinson, THEKIMTOMLINSON @gmail.com. If you want to contact me for that. But again, all I'm asking today is to allow it to be an open discussion for the citizens to gather and give the opinions to vote whether we want it. Obviously, you're going to hear from the passionate people. They're the only ones that are going to go through the effort of contacting. But if you open it up, they're all going to show up and give an opinion. I think you'll get a more fair opinion that way. Obviously, I'm getting tons of people that are saying, this is great, this is great. I've had 2 people come to the page and say, no, no, no. But everybody else I'm getting is all for it. Currently, this is only a sampling of our soccer team, but the petition that I have has got, other than mine, 7 signatures. So 7 of the parents lived in Bellbrook versus Sugar Creek. I did not gather anybody from Sugar Creek because I didn't think that would really apply. But we have Marissa Waters of Bayberry Cove and Julia Schultz-Pinger of Bellbrook Woods Court, Rob Tarr of Periwinkle Drive, Christina Bolton of Cabernet Way, Sergio Munoz of Sandstone Court, Andrew Betts of Liley Drive, and Sean Siegel of Lower Hills Drive, or Lower Hills Drive. So that's just our soccer team that are all for allowing people to give their vote, not to have you, the council, come and make the decision on our behalf or on behalf of everyone, but just to let people come and have their say in whether we want it or not as a group of citizens who have a concern or don't.
And I think Mike, who was not here last time, her position was to move forward towards the public hearing process. And then at that time, we did a roll call of the council members here, and Mr. Greenwood and Mrs. Middlestetter had voted to move it up to that stage, and I think Donna and the rest of us voted not to.
What's the status of the chickens that are currently on the property?
What do you mean by status?
Are they still there?
they are still there. I have until Tuesday, the 7th, I think, was the
I
date
don't,
determined.
yeah, I don't know that any,
To
I don't
have
think we
them
set any date.
placed.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Carmen stopped by and issued that you all had declared that I had 14 days to put them into another home, or receive a citation if I don't.
Any other questions on council? So I'm sorry, I don't think the vote has changed. Obviously, we always encourage public input, as always. And I've already said what my concerns are, and I think everyone else here has. So thank you very much, and this, we do, if someone else would like to come up and talk about, we are more than welcome. This is an open discussion, 5 minutes, and we need to say your name and address.
Hi, my name is Jose Dovich. I live at 2384 South Limit Drive in Bellbrook. We bought the house in June. In our neighborhood, there's 5 houses that have been for sale and sold very quickly. 2 young families like us. Usually we buy the houses from older residents, and we're bringing a different feel to the area. And I think it's very important that the council take note of that and understand that we have different priorities as young families. That's what I had to say.
Okay. Assuming you like chickens.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted
I
to.
like,
I
So
think-
when you read the minutes, it made it without you
Gotcha,
saying it.
yes, I'm
Okay.
definitely in support of
Okay.
more, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Any other comments on city council? And I think we already went around. Does anyone else? Oh, I see Louis. So you have the camera on yourself?
No, I got it on the 3 of us. I'm Louis Schatzberg. I live at 4082 Ridgetop Drive. My concern is not with this lady having the chickens. My concern is putting code in place that allows somebody to have chickens, then they find out how much work it is to take care of them, and now we have an issue because they're not properly taking care of their animals. Just like we have with dogs, cats, and other animals that we have run in the neighborhood. I mean, dogs are great, they're a great animal, but you have to take care of them. Chickens, from what I can tell, could be a good animal too. But I believe, as I've heard in the past, that there's a lot of work to take care of them. Not only feed, you gotta clean up after them, you gotta care for them, and make sure that they stay healthy. So my concern is for somebody that says, oh, we can have chickens, I'm gonna go get 6 chickens. I know nothing about them, but I'm gonna get 6 chickens, and now we have an issue enforcing the chicken law. Chickens, I feel like are farm animals, and I believe they belong out in the township, not in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Nina Herzog, 255 Upper Hillside Drive here in Bellbrook. I have issues with 6 chickens on a half acre. Half acre is not that big. So to have a large enough coop to be predator proof on a half acre of land and still have land enough for your children to play on is not going to be plausible to me. I still have issues with what I've reiterated 2 weeks ago, is that we already have wildlife coming around now. Deer, skunks, raccoons, you know. How much more is that? What else in addition to that is with chickens in, you know, South Linda's not too far from the Sugar Reserve. You know, who knows what might come through there and then start crawling around the neighborhoods. You know, the safety, I'm more concerned about the safety of children for that purpose, and also how many Durangoans have we gotten in the last couple of years since Ike? You know, so that's my other concern, is that how, you know, weatherproof would it be also? You know, take it, we're in, even though we're not, but I consider kind of Bellbrook the tornado formation area. So that would also be my concern, is to have something like that and not have it be weatherproof. Of course, nothing's going to be weatherproof against our tornado, you know, but also, you know, we've had several trees down from the Durango winds. What else could go down during a blizzard, during a heavy thunderstorm, a windstorm, or anything other else weather related. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Quickly.
Hi, Megan. As far as chickens in their allotted space within a coop, it's generally required 1 square foot of roosting space per chicken. So if you have chickens, that's 6 square feet. It's not that much bigger than this podium. It's really a small amount of space, and they don't need that much room. As far as an exercise pen, as I had mentioned in there, you would have typically a 10 by 12 space is suitable for 6 birds, and more than suitable. And if you're going to let them free room again, you should have a fence. You can trim their wings so they don't escape. And as far as predators, I have seen no increase in predators since April when I acquired my birds. There's been none. Of course, it hasn't been winter yet when they're desperate, so that would be something to see. As Beaver Creek had proposed, if this were to go forward, it would be with a 1-year term of
Moratorium.
Sunset.
Sunset's what they termed it in
So
Beaver Creek.
you could see how it goes over the course of a year, and if it goes poorly, you repeal it at the end of that period, and nobody's harmed. And as for the plat covenants, either you have it or you don't, and if people want to have them and their plat covenant provides for it, then there's no reason the people that can't should be affecting the people that can. That's not fair. So I just want to say that.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I'm sure we will probably get to revisit this again at some time. I think it's right now pretty strong majority. Please, though, let us know how all your other stuff goes, and I'm sure you will. I'm very confident of that. With that, is there any other open remarks? Because we will be breaking into an executive session. There will be no action coming out of this executive session, and we'll be talking about the purchase of property.
I'll be very quick.
Okay.
Hi. Do I need to restate my name and address again?
No.
Okay, good. I do have a question. Is it allowed for questions?
Sure.
What would change the council's mind if we went door to door and asked our neighbors how they feel about chickens in all neighborhoods? Would it be something that would change your mind?
I will let everyone go down there and briefly ask.
Door to door in just your neighborhood? Or
I
every
didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Door to door in just your neighborhood or all over the city?
Well, in my neighborhood, initially,
It wouldn't change
to
my
feel.
mind in your neighborhood.
I didn't hear. I'm
It
sorry.
wouldn't change my mind if it was just door to door in your neighborhood.
In my neighborhood, okay. And if there was a positive response in my immediate neighborhood, and we went outside and reached out further, and there was a positive response there, in a neighborhood that you're concerned with, would that change your mind?
I listen to all of the people at Bellbrook on
Okay.
decisions like this, so I don't know whether it would change my mind
I think there
or
was a
not.
very, very small group of people who are aware that this isn't even an issue in Bellbrook.
Yeah.
So if we reach out, we might revisit ourselves in a couple of months, or even a year maybe.
Well, I've heard from several people that I know in my neighborhood, and I haven't found anyone who thinks it's a good idea, so.
Gotcha.
I don't, that's just not a scientific sampling, but I understand.
How about you?
And Forrest was on your side, so.
I just got here, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, this is last time. So
Gotcha, okay.
He,
I was willing to hear public input
All right,
on, discussing it.
okay.
We
And
get
typically, would you
that
want
from
people
time
to
to
come in
time.
personally and address the council? Or would a petition be something that you're interested in?
well, I think what he wanted, the next process for us, if we would move forward, council would have to agree that we wanted to move forward, and that's where you would go the formal process of introducing a new ordinance. And so what he was saying is Forrest was in favor of going through that process.
Gotcha.
Where the rest of us are not, Mrs. Middlestetter was too.
I'd like to hear from the city. I do have a concern with the plat covenants, though.
Yes.
That makes it.
And we can continue to look at it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if we're just going real quickly through. So, yeah, Mr. McGill, I know he had,
Yeah. I initially said no in the meeting, but I said I'd give you the benefit of the doubt and take a look at the area that you had the chickens in, which we met on Saturday. You showed, and I want to say that while you do keep it in order to a degree, you're the exception probably to the rule. of someone else that's there. But beyond that, I have a concern on the plat covenants in our homeowners association. We would not be able to have that, okay? I'd be concerned with who would pay the cost of taking and looking at those plat covenants and changing those. It would not be the homeowners association, in my opinion. It would have to be the individuals petitioning to have it changed. Okay, so that could be a viable expense for you, potentially, or non-viable expense, depending on how financially oriented you are at this point. But
If somebody was interested in establishing a coop, would the council consider something like the person who's interested in the coop be in charge of paying for the inspection and a city inspector?
Well, I think
It's not-
his issue is
No, it's
South
not that-
Linda, it's very likely that it specifically says, well, without looking, we don't know. It says no poultry.
Gotcha.
We can't change that. City cannot change that.
Okay.
That there's nothing we can do to do that and we don't want to put neighbor pitting neighbor because they would be taking you to court because you're not complying to the plat covenant. And most
HOAs would stay like that.
well, most of Bellbrook's plat covenants, not all by any means.
Gotcha.
And Mrs. Tomlinson's a gray area one because it says no livestock. Not okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm
and you
unfortunately
might.
a
So
neighbor.
that's in the gray
That's how I
area
figured
one.
this.
So I'm sorry, Mr. McGill.
no, I'm finished with my comments, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to let you folks know that I did go down and give her the benefit of the doubt to explain, what she was intending to do or attempting to do, from the process there. But it has not changed my mind from what I originally said, no. I want you to understand that.
And I don't. And I don't think. I always look, and you hate to do this because I have my own personal opinions, but I also look what the people want to do.
Yes.
So when I have people coming up to me, and a vast majority saying, we don't want chickens,
Gotcha.
so, if there's a perfect world, residents would vote on everything, but they vote for us. So, sort of got to look at that.
I understand.
So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. With that, we are going to adjourn to executive sessions. I would like to thank the Cub Scouts for coming out, and good luck. Hopefully, this is probably a good night to come. You got to see how the public process works. And we're going to adjourn to executive session.